Howdy howdy, this is Crafty Grinding back again with an arena cutoff video for Marvel Contest of Champions. Today I cover round 1 predictions for the Hulk Ragnarok and Spider-Man Symbiote arenas. So the first thing I like to do is always kind of classify what kind of arenas I think these actually fall into. And when it comes to Spider-Man Symbiote 4-star basic, really it's a high interest, medium interest, low interest. And Symbiote, Spider-Man Symbiote, he really falls into that low interest bucket, at least I think so. And then when you think of Hulk Ragnarok, and the 3-star, 4-star feature arenas, there's a bunch of results around new champs and a bunch of results for old champs, and they all kind of cluster that way. And when it comes to Hulk Ragnarok, obviously he is a new and long awaited champ in the game. So with that being the case, here's a look at some recent low interest results. When you look at Gamora, when you look at Drax, when you look at Punisher, they all were kind of around that 2 million to 2.3 million kind of cutoff point, with the 11% shard tier cutoff right around 1.5 to 1.7, kind of in between that range right there. Now, when we jump over to the 4-star feature new champs, you can see that MODOK, you have him at a low range at 16.4, all the way to the new all-time high that Void set at 20.2 million. Before that, you had Blade and Hela in that 19 million zone, but you even had recently Sentry 18.2, so it wasn't kind of just an anomaly with Void getting such a high number. Even a bad champ that we knew was bad, like Sentry, ended up scoring 18.2 million, and this was with 6 stars being introduced to the game right around the corner. So it's not like all of a sudden we're seeing less love for new champs. So something to kind of keep in mind. And then you can see even with Void here recently at 20 million, that really pushed that top 10% shard cutoff all the way up to almost 5 million, when in the past it's been closer to 4.5, 4.7 million. When it comes to new 4-star feature, or sorry, new 3-star champs, you can see that that's a pretty consistent range, right around 1.5 to the high 1.48 million kind of range, with the 11% shard tier right around 640 to 660, 660,000. So with all that being said, let's take a look at some of the community input. So what I've been doing here now for a couple months is putting out a preview, an arena preview video, where I kind of give some background on some similar past results, and then I ask you, the community, to tell me your thoughts via polls in my community section. So here are the results for the 2 questions that I asked related to these arenas. So the first one was, what do you think the cutoff will be for the 4-star Spider-Man symbiote? You can see that most folks, there wasn't a strong majority one way or the other, but most felt that he would be around that 1.8 to 2 million, 2.2 kind of range, with almost, over 70% kind of falling in that bucket. And then where you have a little difference of opinion, you have Priest here saying, hey, he's definitely putting up 2.7. He's been waiting to get it for some time, and now he feels like this is a good chance. And I think this is a little bias on Priest, because he's really eager, it sounds like, to get Spider-Man symbiote. So congratulations early, Priest. I think you're going to get him, especially if you go to that 2.7 number, where most folks were kind of like Wilson here, saying he's an old champ and should have a similar cutoff to low interest champs like Gamora and Rocket cutoffs, kind of thing. And that's a person speaking to my heart, kind of looking at past trends based off of what we're going to hear. Wilson's completely agree with you on that one. Now, the other question that I was asking, what about the 4-star Hulk Ragnarok arena? And you can see that an overwhelming majority, maybe the biggest I've ever seen out of these polls, with 254 votes. And again, thank you very much for everybody who took the time to vote. But most folks thought he was going to go over 20 million and easily surpass the Void's cutoff at 20.2 million. But, to give it a difference of opinion, Caldwell thought, hey, there is a lot of hype out there for him, but he's feeling that a lot of folks might be just trying to get him through buying crystals versus spending the time in the arena. But most folks like Dean and others said, hey, it's Hulk, Gladiator Hulk, Hulk Ragnarok, whatever you want to call him. We've been waiting for a while. Dean says it nice and easy. It's the Hulk with an X. It's enough said. So 20 million plus, and I think was the common belief for most of the comments. And as you can see here, for most of the folks that voted in my poll anyway, thought that he would be pushing over Void's cutoff. So with all this input from you, the community, as well as looking at past results, here are my thoughts for first round predictions. So, and then again, this is for the veterans bracket, meaning that your account has been in the game for more than 61 days plus. So for the top 800, I think we're going to look at 20 million. I think people are going to go, they were able to go to Void for 20.2. I think Hulk Gladiator has that much more hype so far. The early results coming in and some of the analysis with folks who've already grabbed him, it looks like he's a pretty decent champ, similar kind of in that Void camp. Maybe not God. I don't think any of them were God tier kind of thing. I think both are going to kind of fall in that demigod tier kind of range. But anyway, I think 21 million is what we're looking at the cutoff. And as we saw with Void, that pushes up that top 10% shard tier all the way to 4.9 million. And I think we can see the same thing with 11% 11% shard tier, which is typically around 2 million, 2.2 million. You better go to 2.5 million for that 11% and higher shard tier. Then with Spider-Man Symbiote, I think 2.2, 2.3, and maybe even 2.3 is a bit high. Maybe 2.2 is kind of where we're going to see this cutoff for Spider-Man Symbiote with 11 to 25% tier around 1.6 million. And I think what we're going to see here, as we saw with Void, there was a little bit higher three-star feature cutoff. It was at 1.52. I think we're going to see a couple 100,000 jump with Hulk Ragnarok as well to 1.55 million with 11 to 25% tier at 660,000. When and again, this is the predictions where I think the cutoffs will actually kind of land, give or take 5%, 5 to 10% kind of thing. I think it'll be in this range. So what I always like to do is kind of give a target, kind of that buffer, a little bit above that 10% range, kind of where I think it's going to land. If you really want Hulk, and this isn't even 20% in this case, well, I guess it's roughly 20%. No, it's not really. It's actually not even 20%, but a good safe target, I think, for Hulk Ragnarok will be 22 million with the top 10% at 5 million. Then with Spider-Man Symbiote around 2.5 million with 11 to 25% tier at 1.7 million. And lastly, that top 10% for the three-star feature. If you really want to make sure you get Hulk Ragnarok, go to 1.6 million. And then for the 11 to 25% tier, 680,000. And again, these grind targets are for the veterans bracket. When it comes to the beginners bracket and the intermediate bracket, beginners bracket 1 to 30 days, and intermediate bracket, your account's been live for 31 to 60 days. Here's some rough ranges. And again, these are just rough ranges, not based on a lot of prior data, just because there's not a good source of that prior data. But this is just based off of what data was been made available to me, shared by folks in the community like you. Thank you very much, folks, for sharing it. Plus my own personal experiences with my main account back in August, as well as with my free-to-play account here over the last month or so. Three-star feature in the beginners, you're roughly talking about 245, 250. Four-star basic, 1.2 million, and the four-star feature kind of match around 1.2, 1.3 million. Now, the one that I have a lot of recent experience with, the intermediate bracket, that three-star feature for a new champ, around 550,000. You should be safe there. With the four-star basic and in Spider-Man Symbiote, 1.2, 1.3 million. And now for the four-star feature, I saw this recently with Void. I had to go to 2 million to make sure I got the Void. And I was able to get him twice, dupe him, which was great in the intermediate bracket. I'm putting it at 1.8 because it's a rough between 1.8 to 2 million. But if you really want him, you want to try to go over 2 million if you can to get Hulk Ragnarok 4-star. So anyway, these are my thoughts on the intermediate and beginner brackets, as well as the predictions and targets for the veterans bracket. If you have any questions on these or feel differently or just want to talk about them, throw those questions on down into the comments section. Be happy to talk about them there. And if you enjoyed watching this video, would really appreciate you smashing that like button. And if you like this and other videos that I have in the channel, would really appreciate you subscribing. Thanks a lot for watching my video today, and have a great day. Bye.